The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. The apostles said to the Lord, "Increase our faith." The Lord replied, "If you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you would say to this mulberry tree, 'Be uprooted and planted in the sea,' and it would obey you. Who among you would say to your servant, who has just come in from plowing or tending the sheep in the field, 'Come here immediately and take your place at table'? Would he not rather say to him, 'Prepare something for me to eat. Put on your apron and wait on me while I eat and drink. You may eat and drink when I am finished'? Is he grateful to that servant because he did what was commanded? So should it be with you. When you have done all you have been commanded, say, 'We are unprofitable servants. We have done what we were obliged to do.'" The Gospel of the Lord. During just about every home football game here at Notre Dame, I'm struck by how much it all resembles a kind of pilgrimage. People come from all over the country, all over the world, and everyone converges on this single spot. There are these very specific rituals that we carry out, and the largest event of the weekend ends with a hymn to honor Mary. In 100 years, sociologists are going to have a field day studying us, I think. But one thing that isn't as obvious from the outside, just from looking at all that happens here during one of these pilgrimages, is that everyone carries something with them on their journey. There is a hope or a prayer, a desire for transcendence maybe. We only need to go take a look at the grotto to see that this is true. This weekend, thousands and thousands of candles will be lit and prayers will be offered. There is something about this place that is different for people and holy. I'm reminded of another famous pilgrimage, probably the most famous Christian pilgrimage today, the Camino de Santiago, the Way of St. James. There are a lot of routes to the city of Santiago and the church there that holds the tomb of the Apostle James. But the most popular one takes pilgrims 500 miles from just over the border in France, basically all the way across Spain. Tens of thousands of people walk it every year now. Many don't know more than a phrase or two of Spanish. The only universal is the greeting, "Buen camino," which means "have a good journey," or simply "good way." I had the privilege of walking it myself a number of years ago, and it was fascinating. I met people from all over the world, from every walk of life, people walking it for myriad different reasons. But I found that there, as well, everyone was carrying something. Some people were walking with a question that needed to be answered, a question about the future or about the implications of the past. Some carried with them the remains of a relationship. Others carried some hurt, some wound, whether their own or others. The unexpected death of a parent, maybe, a horrible divorce after 40 years of marriage, a child's drug addiction, joblessness. Many were looking for God in one way or another, but felt that God was giving no answer. So many might have cried out the prayer of Habakkuk in the first reading. How long, O Lord? I cry for help, but you do not listen. I cry out to you violence, but you do not intervene. Where are you, God? Why don't you act to help us? These are questions familiar not only to the ancient Israelites, who were at that time seeing their enemies sweep down upon them, or just to pilgrims walking the Camino, but also to many of the pilgrims to Our Lady's University this weekend. For many, there is some question, some difficulty, some hurt that we simply cannot make sense of, something that we carry with us as we go. I think that the apostles' request in the gospel today makes so much sense in this context. Increase our faith. Increase our faith. This problem of pain cannot be answered without it. It's this question, I think, that is the biggest temptation to give up the pilgrimage. Just forget about it. People talk a fair bit about blind faith, as though faith were about burying your head in the sand and ignoring reality. But faith is not a kind of blindness. It is a way of seeing. It's a way of seeing that allows us to act, allows us to take a step. You know, for pilgrims, the problem with faith is that it does not light up the end of the road. The whole journey, with all its jogs and potholes and detours, is not available to us. But the good thing about faith is that it lights up the next step. It lights up the next step and gives us the courage to take it. One more step. One more step. Not 100 miles. I can't do 100 miles. One step. One step. And here's the thing. Faith grows by steps. Each time we say, I don't know about tomorrow, Lord, but I'll walk today. Each time our faith grows. Our vision of life, of death, of suffering grows. Step by step, we're able to see with eyes of understanding and even eyes of gratitude. One of the ancient traditions on the Camino is that pilgrims carry with them a small stone. And then at a certain point, hundreds of miles into the journey, they drop it at the foot of an iron cross, along with the stones of countless other pilgrims. The stone, carried all those miles, represents the prayers, the burdens, the difficulties, and heartaches that the pilgrim has been carrying. It's a place of peace and perspective and letting go. In a few minutes, we'll line up to approach this place, to approach this cross. And as you come, I invite you, if you're carrying something on your journey, on your pilgrim way, to lay it down here, to offer it here, and receive in its place the gift of God's very self. It may not take you to the end of the road, but I think that it will give you peace and strength to walk today. Buen camino.